There's a method so simple that it feels like cheating the entire gardening industry. One dried coconut shell, one single seed, 0 daily watering required, 0 constant attention demanded, 0 expensive equipment necessary, 0 pest management protocols, 0 complicated pruning schedules. You set it up once and walk away completely. Months later, you return to harvest more food than your family can possibly consume in an entire growing season without having invested more than 30 minutes of total labor. This is not an exaggeration or marketing hype. According to peer-reviewed research published by the University of Florida, Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, in their official crop production guidelines, a single well-maintained plant can produce 80 to 100 fruits per season under normal growing conditions. Mother Earth News documented yields of 50 to 100 fruits per vine as far back as 1980 in their original coverage titled "Dine Like an Aztec." The numbers remain consistent across 4 decades of horticultural research because this plant genuinely produces that abundantly without requiring the intensive care that modern gardening culture insists all vegetables demand. The coconut shell performs work that dedicated gardeners normally perform by hand every single day of the growing season. It holds moisture for extended periods without any supplemental watering between rains. It releases essential nutrients slowly and steadily as the organic shell gradually decomposes over months. It protects delicate young roots from temperature extremes and sudden fluctuations that would stress plants growing in ordinary exposed soil. It creates a protective microenvironment so perfectly suited to this plant that the chayote essentially takes care of itself while you do nothing productive but wait patiently for harvest time to arrive. This combination of coconut and chayote represents agricultural wisdom that tropical cultures developed over not just centuries but millennia of observation and experimentation. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has documented this crop's history extensively. The knowledge remained in traditional communities, while modern gardening media promoted techniques requiring purchased products instead. The seed companies cannot sell you anything when a discarded coconut shell outperforms their premium products. The fertilizer industry has no revenue stream when decomposing coconut feeds plants better than synthetic formulations. The irrigation equipment manufacturers lose customers when a coconut holds enough moisture to keep plants thriving without their expensive systems. This is the lazy coconut method for growing chayotes, a technique so productive that one vine produces enough food to feed a family of 4. The approach that modern gardening forgot because nobody could profit from teaching it. Today, we are opening the file on this remarkable growing method. The archaeological evidence of chayote cultivation spanning 3,000 years, the science explaining why coconut creates ideal growing conditions, the nutritional value hiding in this overlooked vegetable, and exactly how to set up this system yourself using materials that cost almost nothing. If this matters to you, subscribe and hit the bell. The file is open. There is a vegetable that archaeological evidence confirms humans have cultivated for approximately 3,000 years in Mesoamerica. The chayote, scientifically known as Sequia medul, belongs to the Cucurbitaceae family alongside cucumbers, melons, and squashes. Research published in Economic Botany traced the domestication of this plant to Atamanguean-speaking peoples in southern Mexico as early as the 12th century BCE. That means humans were cultivating chayote before the rise of ancient Greece, before the construction of Solomon's Temple, before virtually every civilization currently existing on Earth. Archaeological records provide concrete evidence of chayote integration into Mesoamerican societies. Excavations at Copan in Honduras documented chayote remains dating between 700 and 900 CE, demonstrating its importance in Mayan agricultural systems. The plant appears consistently in settlement records from the 8th century CE, where it was managed as a primary crop alongside maize, beans, and squash. The Aztec civilization elevated chayote to staple food status. The name itself derives from the Nahuatl word chayotli, the language of the Aztec Empire. For both the Aztecs and the Mayans, this fruit provided reliable food security. The Mayans particularly valued the flowering tendrils and starchy roots alongside the abundant fruit. Spanish conquistadors encountered chayote during the conquest of Mexico in the 16th century. They recognized its value immediately and spread it throughout their colonial empire via the Columbian Exchange. By the late 1500s, chayote had reached the Philippines through the Manila galleon trade route connecting Acapulco to Manila. From there, it spread throughout Southeast Asia, eventually reaching Africa, Australia, and every tropical region on Earth. The global distribution explains why chayote carries different names across cultures. Louisianans call it merleton, a name inherited from Haitian immigrants who arrived in the 1700s. Australians and New Zealanders know it as choco. Caribbean English speakers say Christophany. Brazilians call it chuchu, which doubles as an affectionate term meaning sweetie. Guatemalans distinguish between guisquil for dark green varieties and perulero for lighter ones. Every name reflects a culture that independently discovered how valuable this plant could be. There's productivity data that explains why agricultural researchers consider chayote among the most efficient food plants available to home gardeners anywhere in the world. The University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences published comprehensive chayote production guidelines, citing research from multiple international sources. According to Fern in 2020 and Valenzuela in 2020, one plant can produce 80 to 100 fruits per season, with yields of 54,000 pounds per acre, considered normal for commercial operations. Costa Rican production data, documented by Lira Saad, shows yields exceeding 66,000 pounds per acre under optimal tropical conditions. These numbers represent verified agricultural research, not marketing claims or hopeful estimates. Mother Earth Gardener magazine documented first-year vines producing 30 fruits, with production increasing dramatically to 80 fruits in the second year, and continuing to climb in subsequent seasons as root systems expand underground. The productivity depends on several manageable factors, including soil fertility, hours of direct sunlight exposure, root competition from nearby plants, and trellising methods that allow adequate air circulation. But even under clearly suboptimal growing conditions, the yields remain genuinely impressive compared to conventional vegetable crops. A single mature fruit weighs between half a pound and 2.5 pounds, depending on variety selection and harvest timing. Simple multiplication, using conservative estimates, reveals that one plant producing 80 fruits at 1 pound average yields 80 pounds of nutritious food from a single vine. Even at conservative estimates accounting for smaller fruits and suboptimal conditions, this means 50 to 100 pounds of fresh produce from a single vine, requiring minimal ongoing care throughout the season. The vine growth matches the productivity. According to multiple sources, including BC Farms and Food and the University of Hawaii Agricultural Extension, vines can grow 6 to 9 meters in a single season, which translates to 20 to 30 feet of climbing coverage. Wikipedia documentation confirms vines can rise as high as 12 meters, or approximately 39 feet, when adequate support structures are provided. Compare this to tomatoes requiring caging, staking, pruning, suckering, and constant pest management to produce perhaps 20 to 30 pounds per plant. Compare it to peppers needing similar attention for yields measured in dozens of fruits rather than hundreds. Compare it to any conventional vegetable, and chayote productivity stands nearly unmatched in the home garden context. There is a nutritional profile that makes chayote cultivation valuable beyond simple caloric production. Both the fruit and seed contain significant amino acids and vitamin C, according to documentation from multiple agricultural extension services. The USDA National Nutrient Database confirms chayote provides meaningful amounts of folate, potassium, vitamin B6, and dietary fiber with very few calories. The Food and Agriculture Organization documentation hosted by Purdue University describes medicinal applications that traditional cultures developed over centuries of use. Infusions of chayote leaves have been used to dissolve kidney stones and assist treatment of arteriosclerosis and hypertension. Infusions of the fruit help alleviate urine retention. The cardiovascular properties have been tested in modern studies, while effectiveness for kidney ailments has been documented since colonial times on the Yucatan Peninsula. Every part of the plant provides nutrition. The young and tender leaves are eaten and cooked like asparagus according to University of Hawaii guidelines. The shoots appear in soups across Asian cuisines. The seeds can be fried or roasted and eaten as snacks. The tuberous roots develop after plants reach 2 years of age and can be harvested, peeled, and prepared like potatoes. The root contains 20% high-quality starch, often used as a substitute for wheat products. This multi-use characteristic meant that traditional households wasted nothing from chayote cultivation. The vines themselves, being durable yet flexible, were traditionally woven into baskets and hats. A single plant provided food, medicine, and craft materials simultaneously while requiring almost no agricultural intervention beyond providing a climbing structure. There is science behind why coconut shells create superior growing conditions that modern horticulture has documented extensively. Coconut coir, the fibrous material from coconut shells and husks, has become a standard commercial growing medium precisely because researchers validated what traditional farmers knew from centuries of practical experience. The material holds water efficiently while maintaining air spaces that roots need to access oxygen. This combination of moisture retention and adequate aeration proves difficult to achieve with other organic materials. Research comparing coconut coir to other growing media demonstrated that coconut-based substrates support root development equal to or better than peat moss, the previous industry standard, while offering superior sustainability. Coconuts are agricultural byproducts that would otherwise become waste, while peat extraction damages sensitive wetland ecosystems. The physical structure of coconut shell creates thermal buffering that protects roots from temperature extremes. The fibrous material insulates against both excessive heat and damaging cold, maintaining more stable root zone temperatures than bare soil exposure allows. This buffering reduces plant stress during temperature fluctuations that would otherwise slow growth or damage sensitive root tissues. The decomposing coconut shell releases nutrients slowly over time as fungi and bacteria break down the organic material. Potassium levels in coconut material are naturally high, providing essential nutrition that most plants require in significant quantities. The gradual release matches plant uptake rates better than synthetic fertilizers that deliver nutrients in concentrated doses, which can burn roots or wash away before absorption occurs. Chayote evolved in tropical environments where organic matter decomposed rapidly, releasing nutrients that plants competed to capture. Coconut shells decompose at rates matching chayote nutrient demands. Both elements originated in tropical ecosystems where they essentially co-evolved over millions of years. There is elegant simplicity to this method that makes modern gardening complexity look entirely unnecessary. The setup requires one dried coconut with the husk partially intact or one empty coconut shell filled with coconut coir fiber. Position the coconut with the eyes facing sideways so excess water drains while the shell retains adequate moisture. Create a hole in the top large enough to accommodate a whole chayote fruit that has begun sprouting. Unlike most vegetables where seeds require separation, drying, and careful storage, chayote seeds must remain inside the fruit for planting. The seed is viviparous, meaning it germinates while still attached to and growing inside the fruit. This characteristic, documented by agricultural researchers worldwide, means you simply plant the entire sprouted vegetable rather than extracting seeds. Purchase a fresh chayote from any grocery store serving Latin American, Caribbean, or Asian communities. Select firm fruit without soft spots or damage. Place it in a warm location with indirect light and wait for a green sprout to emerge from the larger end. Sprouting typically takes 2 to 5 weeks, but requires zero intervention during this period. The fruit itself contains all the stored nutrients needed to fuel initial growth. The sprouting chayote simply sits nestled in the coconut hole with the green sprout pointing upward and the bulk of the fruit settled into the coconut material below. No soil is necessary at this stage. The coconut provides everything required during establishment. Water only when the coconut material feels noticeably dry, which happens far less frequently than ordinary soil dries out. In humid climates with regular rainfall, supplemental watering may never be necessary after establishment. The coconut shell acts as a natural reservoir, absorbing rainfall and releasing moisture gradually between precipitation events. This is lazy gardening that actually works rather than lazy gardening that kills plants through neglect. There is geographic range information that determines who can successfully grow chayote and where. Chayote requires approximately 150 frost-free days to produce fruit, according to multiple extension service guidelines. The plant flowers 110 to 120 days after planting, with fruit maturing approximately 30 days later. This timeline means gardeners in USDA hardiness zones 8 through 11 can grow chayote as a perennial, while those in zone 7 can treat it as an annual planted after frost danger passes completely. The vines die back after hard frost, but roots may survive mild winters with heavy mulching. In zones without hard freezes, chayote roots remain alive through winter and send up new shoots the following spring. Gardeners in South Florida, coastal California, Hawaii, the Gulf Coast, and similar climates can maintain the same plant for 5 to 8 years of continuous production. Provide a climbing structure at least 6 to 8 feet tall and capable of supporting heavy vine growth. Fences, arbors, sturdy trellises, and even trees serve as adequate supports. The vine produces tendrils that grip surfaces automatically, requiring minimal training beyond initial direction toward the intended structure. Full sun produces maximum fruiting, though chayote tolerates partial shade in hot climates, where reduced light prevents heat stress. Protection from strong winds prevents damage to vines and developing fruits. Locations near buildings or solid fences provide wind protection, while offering climbing surfaces the vine readily colonizes. Harvest fruits when they reach desired size, typically 4 to 6 inches in length. Smaller fruits are more tender, while larger fruits develop more substantial texture. Use scissors or a knife to cut fruit from vines rather than pulling, which can damage the plant. According to BC Farms and food guidelines, harvesting regularly encourages continuous production throughout the growing season. There is a future where this traditional knowledge either spreads through communities seeking genuine food security or remains deliberately obscured by industries promoting expensive purchased alternatives that generate corporate profit. The traditional wisdom survived for 3,000 documented years across dozens of distinct cultures spanning every tropical continent on Earth. The Aztecs grew it as a dietary staple. The Mayans cultivated it alongside their sacred crops. The Spanish conquistadors recognized its value and spread it worldwide through colonial trade routes. Filipino farmers adopted it via Manila galleons, Every culture that encountered chayote across 5 centuries recognized its exceptional value and incorporated it eagerly into their agricultural systems. Only modern industrialized gardening conveniently forgot, because forgetting made room for selling expensive products that this plant renders completely unnecessary. The economics strongly favor immediate adoption by anyone willing to examine the comparison honestly and objectively. One coconut that would otherwise become landfill garbage. One chayote fruit purchased for approximately $2 at any ethnic grocery store. Minimal water requirements beyond natural seasonal rainfall. Almost zero ongoing labor beyond the initial 30-minute setup process. Return of 50 to 100 pounds of genuinely nutritious produce that would cost $50 to $100 or more at current retail prices, depending on your location. Hurricane Katrina devastated Louisiana in 2005 and wiped out many treasured Merlot varieties that Cajun families had maintained for generations, demonstrating exactly how fragile our collective food heritage becomes when traditional knowledge concentrates in small geographic regions without wider distribution. The knowledge and genetics that traditional gardeners maintained for centuries can disappear in single catastrophic events. Spreading cultivation more widely protects both the plant varieties and the cultural knowledge surrounding their use. Every person who learns this ancient method and shares it with others in their community expands awareness that threatens only corporations selling unnecessary products to uninformed gardeners. One dried coconut shell that cost nothing because someone was throwing it away. One sprouting chayote fruit from any grocery store serving immigrant communities. 100 nutritious fruits, or more harvested with almost zero ongoing effort required from you. Traditional agricultural wisdom that modern commercial interests strongly preferred, you never discover existed at all. The file is now completely open. What happens next depends entirely on what people choose to do with this valuable information that corporations wanted buried. Subscribe now and hit the bell to see what other lazy growing methods were deliberately forgotten so companies could keep selling expensive products you never actually needed.